Hello, welcome to Anatomy of a Channel. And I'm Catherine Bird. And if you haven't tuned into my work before, I am a channel. I'm a shaman, an energy healer. I teach a lot of energy practices. I'm very passionate about energetic mastery. I'm a student of Daoism and medical Qigong, and teach Qigong, and I have been doing healing work for a long time and channeling work for a long time. And I have, for quite a while, have been on a mission to help support the people who are having awakenings or going through experiences that I had in some kind of way and didn't really feel like I had the necessary support or context or information around. And so this has been just a mission, a passion for me to help support those of you who are on this mystical path and this journey of raising the consciousness. And I know that each and every one of you, if you are on this call, that you have a role to play in that you are an active participant in the connection of the physical, the mundane, the earthly plane with the spiritual forces and with the divine, and with helping to anchor in a frequency that is helping all of us all over the planet to evolve and grow and to show up and do things differently. So first of all, I just want to honor you and send you a big blast of love for being who you are and for doing the work that you're doing, even if at this point you're like, well, I'm not really doing work, I'm sort of just kind of struggling in my own mess a little bit over here. You're still doing amazing work, and I just want to honor you for that. So today we're going to talk about the anatomy of the channel. And honestly, this is a huge, massive topic. This is not something that we can completely understand and wrap our brain around and get all the information around in just a few minutes. This is I said, I think on the last masterclass, this is a lifelong study. The process of channeling, of healing work, of connecting to spirit, of connecting to ourselves truly is a lifelong study. And all of us are where we're at on that journey. And so I hope that I can bring a little bit of context and awareness and support to wherever you're at. When I was opening my channel, or it felt more like it was opening whether I liked it or not, it was really confusing and frustrating, intense. There was a lot going on for me, and I didn't have a lot of context or awareness. And I didn't have the tools and the practices that I needed to support that awakening. And because my awakening was so intense and just blew me up in a lot of ways, I'm here to help other people who are going through whatever that looks like. For some of you, it might be really intense and very confusing and super a lot. And for some of you, it might feel a little more calm and just slowly occurring and blossoming within you. And you lucky people. So let's just talk a little bit about what I'm talking about when I say the anatomy of the channel. Well, basically that as channels, as mediums, and so I'm going to be using these words a little bit interchangeably, that there are so many forms of mediumship. There's 9 forms of mediumship. I get into this on a different class, and then in the proper Open Your Channel coursework. But in all of these different forms of channeling and mediumship, we are the medium. We're the thing that the information flows through, or the healing flows through, the energy, the whatever it is, whether it's a spirit, an actual being coming through us and doing trance work, or it's information, it's frequency. And as that, because we are terrestrial beings on planet Earth, our physical and energetic bodies are very key to what's going on here. It is necessary for evolution and growth out there in all of the places. Having this nervous system that we have is a key towards evolution. It's one of the reasons that we chose to incarnate and come to Earth and have this very challenging, difficult experience of having a biological body which gets sick and gets hurt and eventually will break down and die and decompose. And we have a very challenging experience here on this planet. Fear and trauma and pain and war and struggle. And our nervous system, our physical body as part of, and our energetic body, our electrical body, is a key to our soul's evolution and growth. And it is also tied in, and it is also a key to other beings, other beings that are disembodied. Is also a helpful key for their evolution and growth. And so some of us were called to the planet, or at least we came with an intention that we've forgotten, to be a part of a collective evolutionary shift and jump, which includes both us as terrestrial beings and also other beings, and then also being supported by divine beings and by our guides and our mentors, which are disembodied at this time. No big deal, right? So our physical and energy bodies, when we engage in any sort of channeling work, and this can be healing work, it can be psychic receiving messages and information, it can be actual channeling beings through us, it can be incorporating and actually allowing a being to come inside of our body. All of those activities, some to a greater extent and degree than others, are going to have a great effect on our bodies. They're going to do things to us that might be unexpected. We might not understand what's happening. So we might have an intention to connect to a certain frequency or energy and start connecting and being in that field. And by just connecting and being in that field, calling in guides or working with certain beings that have a certain frequency, it will start to shift us and change us on a very deep level. And because of this, it can create a lot of different things, a lot of different symptoms that can come up, which can include physical pain, emotional pain, exhaustion, just like, oh my gosh, I need to sleep so much. Needing to eat certain foods more or less. It can create illness. You know, you might have heard of something maybe called shaman sickness, so on, or like an awakening flu. Some of this is because it's actually detoxing your body so much, and it's shifting the vibration so much in order for you to connect here with this being here. If you're here, they're going to come down to here, but you also have to go up to them. So if that's the case, then that is a radical shift for a biological being to have. You know, if you don't have a body, you can kind of, I'm all over the place. I'm doing my thing. And, oh, no, I'm over here. I'm over here. We are biology. We're cells. We're water. We're lymph, we're blood and bones, and we're all of these things in this nervous system that's tracking everything all the time with all of the evolutionary, hereditary wounds and traumas and pain points, and all of our personal wounds and traumas and pain points stored in our tissues, stored in our chakra system, stored in our energy bodies and our auric field. And when we start engaging in spiritual works, all that stuff it's like plugging it into the wall. It starts to shift. Things start to become activated. Things that have been hidden and submerged in the consciousness and submerged in the tissues of the body start to come to the surface. So it can cause a lot of issues. And so this is where the confusing point often is for people, is that, oh, I'm doing this spiritual work and I'm doing all this amazing things and I'm connecting with these beings or whatever that is, and I feel like shit. Like, why do I feel like this? Okay, well, this is a process that the physical and energetic emotional bodies are going through as they cleanse and purge the system, as they cleanse and purge the field. And this raising of the vibration, the movement of the energy through the body, and this personal evolution and spiritual development, it blasts through and starts clearing the channels, the organs, the chakras, and then the stuff that's in the field around you. And sometimes it's like Drano, and can feel like, oh my gosh, I just drank some Drano. Perfect. That feels amazing. No, it doesn't feel amazing. It can feel very uncomfortable. And this is where oftentimes people have fear. They have fear. I'm doing it wrong. I'm bad. I'm a fraud. I don't know what I'm doing, which maybe you might not know what you're doing. And maybe that's why you're here. And it can cause a lot of confusion. It can cause fear. And we all know that anytime we give into fear, we shut things down. Things shut down in our system. And that can cause a lot of problems later on down the road. So being a channel is very much connected to being in the physical body and being in the energy body and being in the emotional body and understanding all of those aspects of ourselves. Oftentimes what happens is that when people start connecting spiritually, they almost feel like, oh, this is not what matters. This isn't the thing. The thing is this. It's light. Oh, and don't do the physical and energetic practices and the very intensive, often self-care that's required for people who are doing this work. And so pause there, because I'm gonna say that right now. I'm honestly, like, let's say it again, because we, by and large, will avoid and not do, sometimes simply because we don't know what things to do, the physical, energetic practices and the radical self-care that's required for people who do this work. In the Western esoteric tradition, so at one point when I was starting out, I was studying with Western alchemists and studying Western alchemy, and then I've kind of flipped. I do work in Western alchemy somewhat now, and then I've also been studying a lot more in the Eastern traditions as well. And the Western esotericists, they believed that the work of these initiates who were actually doing channeling work as well as other mystical and magical works, that there was a requirement for physical strength and toughness, so that you could endure what was going to come through you and what was going to happen to you, because they witnessed that if you didn't have a certain amount of physical vitality and stamina, that over time the physical body would become depleted, would need to do things like hold weight in order to protect itself from negative forces, that it would become exhausted and depleted. And really, they believed that there was a tenaciousness that needed to happen, that some of the reasons that throughout the world, you know, looking at the different traditions and mystical traditions, when you looked at the initiatory rites of these different traditions, which we don't generally go through today. We go online and we learn something, or we just starts happening to us because we're remembering ourselves from that time. But in the past, when we were going through an initiation into a tradition, the initiation was life-threateningly hard, where people actually died during initiatory experiences into these different traditions. And they would be going through these initiations from the time that they were small children sometimes until they became the priest or the priestess or the oracle or whatever it was that they were working in. And we don't have that these days. We're like home or on our phone and we're just like hanging out, and then I'm just going to go do some meditation, and there's a being, and okay. So we're not putting ourselves through the physical and energetic practices that support this kind of work, which is where we get a lot of disturbances. We get what in the Daoist tradition is called a Shen disturbance. And so the Shen could be the mind, the spirit, the heart. There's a lot of different words for Shen. But in that, it means that the physical body, the lower center, the lower centers, the lower dantian, the belly, the lower centers, the root, if you're looking at from the yogic tradition, that these centers are not activated, strong, powerful, working all the time, like practiced enough that it's an automatic happening, that if we start channeling and doing psychic phenomenon, that we will destabilize our system so much to the point where we're actually hallucinating and seeing ghosts that aren't there. It's called ghost syndrome, and having experiences that actually aren't true. And that is not a pure channel. That is not the light. That is not helpful to anybody, and especially not to you, because it destabilizes the system so much that causes mental breaks and issues with health and well-being. And I'm sure that probably a few of you might have met some people who would fall into this category, who, without actually doing any of the preparatory work of working in their body and their lower centers with doing physical and energetic practice, and then also working on the traumas and the wounds of the lower centers. And like, I'm looking at this list of who's tuned in here, a lot of ladies on this list. And as women, pretty much all of us have some sort of sexual trauma and wounds. And if you don't have it, you're connected to the collective, and hey, all of us got it. So we all are needing to do some work on ourselves, doing somatic work, breath work, energy work, and physical practices to both awaken, open, and move the energies out that need to be moved out, so that we can become that pure channel. We can become that state, and that we have the stamina to be able to handle what's happening. For some of us, we might just receive knowings or impressions or so on. For others of us that are called into more of a trance channel experience, that stuff is extremely draining on the system. If you're working with entities, if you're called more into shamanic work and you're working with entities or moving entities and doing extraction work, that is exhausting work. And so it requires a certain level of devotion to your practices and to your physical body to be able to sustain that work over time. Because you can do it, you can absolutely do it, and you'll probably be fine for a good while. But from what I've seen, there are a lot of people who are extremely powerful, extremely talented, who are doing work. So I, met some people who are medicine practitioners and shamans and different kinds of practitioners and channels who are doing this work and don't do the groundwork. They don't do any of the clearing practices. They don't do the things that I'm talking about. And you see over time, as they age, a real depletion in their system. And what we are looking for, I think, is this sustainable experience. This is what I've been very passionate about, is how do we handle this stuff, this work, the work that you're called to do. If you're on this call, the work you're called to do, it's probably intense. It's probably a big deal. And we're being asked as healers, as light workers, to do some pretty heavy lifting right now, because it's like, now is the time. We have to dredge everything up and move all of this stuff in order for us to move forward as a collective. So we gotta do the work for us, right? They also really believed in these different traditions that there was a very important, strong thread connecting us to life, connecting us to the physical body. And you might have heard of the silver thread, that the soul is connected to the physical body. In the Daoist tradition, that thread is connected into the liver. And that needs to be strong. It needs to be very strong in order for, if there's traveling work happening, if there's spirits around, that they're not going to overtake you, because you're so connected to life, to the earth, to being in your body on a regular basis, that when those spiritual things start to happen, they're not destabilizing. Does this make sense, you guys? Does this sound like it might be true? Could be true. I don't know. I don't know if I really know anything, but that we are not meant to be etherealized. And right, we're like hearing, yeah, I'm exhausted, right? We're not meant to be etherealized. And when we look at some of the esoteric traditions, when we look at the yogi off in the mountains, in the cave, meditation, just eating, some leaves, nuts, and they're in a very pure atmosphere, and they're becoming a little bit more etherealized. And that's fine. And if you want to be that guy, awesome. That totally works. It's super helpful for the collective as well. But a lot of people that I see, they're being called into a little bit of the darker stuff, and they're being called into bringing through some very important information and healing work, and are in cities or aren't in places that aren't supporting that ethereal nature. It needs to be very grounded and solid. And that means that we must be able to tune into our energy body, to move our energy through our body, to be able to track it successfully as it moves through our body with our awareness, to train our mind to be able to track what's happening in our system, to train our awarenesses of all of our senses, all as many as there are, which who knows how many there actually are, but all of our senses to be tracking what's going on in our field, so that everything becomes a heightened sense of awareness. But it's also, there's a level of precision there. There's a level of mastery on being able to track what's happening in the body. And then that way, then we're aware when something's coming in. Oh, something's here. Something's coming in. Oh, something just left. Good to notice. Good to note. Oh, something didn't leave. Hey, I'm going to ask them to get out of here. We become very aware of what's happening in our energy body, in our physical body, so that we're aware when we're taking on stuff from other people, or we're not closing our channel down properly. And we're starting to become more and more aware of the cleansing and purging that needs to happen from our energy body because of this practice. This practice requires a very clean field and system. And it also requires that just doing it, you also have to cleanse and purge yourself. You know, the physical body is our priority, and a lot of us don't prioritize our physical body. We are prioritizing the spirit realm, we're prioritizing other people, we're prioritizing our work, and we avoid our physical practices, and we are unaware of what our physical practices are actually doing. Like, we might go to yoga or some such, but we're not really aware of like, oh, why am I doing this? Like, what is it actually doing to me? What is happening in the energy body? What's happening in the energy field? What's happening in my physical body? Why am I doing this practice that I'm doing? That if you are suffering from exhaustion, from illness, from an instability, that is not the time to be doing this work. It's not the time. It's not appropriate, and it's not helpful, and you don't need to. It's okay. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to say no. It's okay to not engage. It's okay. It's not going to mean that everything's going to go away. It's not going to mean that you're going to suffer and fail. It just means that this is a signal for you to start to tune into what's happening in your system, in your field, so that you can understand it more. I'm getting some yeses over here, and getting the call to get the core, the sacral, the root, and the liver in shape. So it's like, yeah. And so, yeah, Kimberly, I'll get to your question. Some examples of what it feels like when energy that is not ours may be clinging on. This can be different for different people. Just some, you might be an awareness. There might be an exhaustion, or a lot of times our thoughts are a good key and signal. If we're having thoughts that are not like us, like, oh, why am I thinking that? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Or why am I beating the shit out of myself in my head right now? And this is the other piece around our mind and working with our mind, that we can start to notice when maybe it's not us having that conversation with us. And we can also notice things that are going on in the physical body, whether it's having a little bit of a physical, issue, or just an awareness. And if so, then, doing some clearing practices, doing some helpful cord cutting, clearing the space, being your sovereign being, making your declarations of sovereignty, these things can all help. And if you have a question, just do practices, I know I'm not giving you a ton of practices today. I am going to give you a practice at the end of the class. So stay tuned to the end of the class. But if you also, another thing, Kimberly, is like not being able to sleep can be a thing. Having animals be weird around you can be a thing. Like, there's lots of different things, and it's going to be different for everybody. And nothing I ever say about things that could go wrong is ever a reason to be afraid. Like, fear is just doesn't have any place in this work. Like, let's just say, oh, it's not because I have this, oh, I must like have an entity and I'm possessed, and oh, I'm like, no, just, if you know, then you know. And if you don't know, so one thing about sleep is that people who are channels, I'm just going to give you guys this, people who are channels oftentimes don't have the awareness of the opening and the closing of the channel. And so they don't close the channel. They just go around all day, oh, I'm an open channel. And then at night, they're like, oh, I'm open channel. And the stuff's just coming in, and it's processing, and it's doing its thing. If you're an open channel, what do you have to say with it? So you have to be very clear before you go to sleep that you are closed, that you are not engaging in any spiritual activity at night, and that you are asking your guides and angels to assist you in restful sleep. And wear socks. Because I hear that helps. I don't know. My partner says it helps him to sleep. He read it on the internet. It's not, I don't have any experience with that one. So the other piece is really this awareness of the central channel, the Tai Chi pole, the chakra system, our posture, movement, and breath. All of these are very important. And if you engage with some of my work in the future and come and study with me, these are all pieces that we dive in really deeply into in different ways. And these are important pieces, is how we are engaging in our posture and doing the physical practices that allow us to have that, to also to do the energy practices that are having us have that awareness of that channel of light that's coming in, so that it's more easeful. When our posture is very off, it's like, pinball thing. It's like, it's like, or like a pipe, and the thing's trying to get through the pipe, and it's like, oh, the pipe's all crooked. That's really challenging for the information to come through. So improving our posture, doing more movement work, more breath work is always going to assist us. Sometimes we can overactivate with breath work, so be careful with that. If your channel's super open and you start like doing like crazy breath work, it can get really intense. So, but connecting to the breath is always important. Yeah, and a lot of times we've shifted our posture to keep stuff out. Right. Good one, Kimberly. We stopped. So don't come in here. It's going to close down. And the other thing I want to give you today, so I want to give you this information that's very important and interesting, I think. And we're going to do a tiny little practice, but from the Daoist tradition, the upper gate tower, which is this area back here. I just want you to kind of like, if you can, if you're not driving your car, maybe with one hand if you're driving your car, but feeling the back of the head where they call the occipital protuberance. There's a little bony piece here that sticks in the back. If yours is really big, then traditionally you would be a little more psychic than other people. Lucky you. And now you're going to run around touching people's heads. This is the Jade Pillow Palace because traditionally we would sleep on a jade pillow, which never sounded very comfortable, but I'm sure it was quite stimulating to this area of the head. I can imagine like just laying on a big piece of jade here. And so from the center, so this was considered an antenna to the messages. And then from the center out just a little bit, kind of where those, the kind of like muscle tendon-y part comes into the head, and you'll start to feel around back here. This was considered the mouth of God. And the 2 points on the two sides, which, you can't see, but kind of just press around and see if anything feels interesting back here. These are the transmedium channel points. And they believe that this is where a spirit entity could extend its chi, its energy, and its shin, its spirit into a person to possess their physical body. And this is, a lot of times we hear possession and we're like, possession, but it's a benign possession, right? It's a trans-channel experience. It's doing channel divination. And Una's saying that makes sense. And when I found this out from the Daoist mysticism literature, I was so excited because I had conversations with some of my friends who were trans channels, and I was like, we're like, when we meet each other, we're like, oh, cool. How do you do it? And we're like, I don't know. How do you do it? Like, and both of us, we have, and several of them like, oh, yeah, I feel like my consciousness kind of comes back here. This is this place, it becomes activated, this thing. Una, do you have this experience? And that it was consistent with different people, that they would say, yeah, there's this thing that happens here. And so in my experience, I had just been doing this with no training. And I was like, oh, well, what happens is I kind of just slide here. And my consciousness is here. And then talking to other channels, they're like, oh yeah, that's how it happens for me too. And then reading this in the Daoist literature about this area and this point, and then also from the other more Eastern, like other Eastern, it also considered this like dragon brain that's back here. Right. So yeah, there's things back there. And when I do spirit release, since I feel attachments there and they need to be released. Exactly. This is also an area where spirits will attach to people into this area and then coming into the upper back. And so oftentimes entities will be stuck in the upper back. And so what we need to do is clean this area often. And so we've got 5 more minutes, and we're going to do a super quick little practice. So first, let's just kind of like massage the head, massage all of the bones of the head, because when you're starting to open your channel, you might even feel like, oh, it's hot, or there's weird divots in my head here. Like the bones start moving in the skull. So just kind of take your hands and start doing some deep massage, like really grab the bones and like open the bones and open the bones on the side of the head and the back of the head, and then just massage this area in the back of the head. And then we're just going to tap from the head to the shoulders, from the head to the shoulders, from the head to the shoulders, and just use your intention and your breath to start to clean. So just imagine there's a big chimney behind your head, and you're just going to clean, upwards, 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 upwards. Do a little bit more tapping, a little more tapping, a little more tapping, and then maybe some little snaps around your head, and maybe some sounds like shoo, 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 or whatever feels really natural and comfortable for you. You can kind of pull some stuff off the back of the head. It's kind of just like clearing this area. And especially if you have been doing any channeling work or afterwards, if this stuff is coming up and coming through for you, just kind of like, just quick wipe that off. And let's just wipe the front and the face, wipe the front of the throat a little bit. And then just take that down the arm and shake that out a little bit. And then notice the back of the head, the back of the neck, and see if you can't just sit up a little straighter and feel your pelvic floor, root into the earth, be connected to the earth at this time, even though you're aware of what's in the upper realms. All right, so that was like a 2-minute practice. So, and that's probably one of the most important practices that you can do. Honestly, super important. And yeah, it's so helpful. And you're like, what? Should that be helpful? No, it's very helpful. So I've just given you like an amazing, amazing practice for free. Here you go. Right. And so, yeah, it's helpful. It's like, there's a bunch of crap back there. There's a bunch of stuff back there I don't need. So this is just a tiny little smidgy little baby taste of some of the stuff that there is to learn about this work. And so many of you are called into this work. It's part of your soul's mission. And instead of flopping about trying to figure this out on your own, I'm here to help you with this. Now, at this moment in time, should be pushing you and selling you into my Open Your Channel course and retreat, which is an 8-week course online and a weekend retreat. But as of yesterday, I have pushed this course and retreat into the new year because I have had an unexpected move. And just like I said, if there's instability, this is not really the time to be channeling. And although I'm really solid in my channel and, channel all over the place, I am committed to holding a very safe and sacred container for all of my people. And I want to be able to devote my time and attention and energy to supporting a group. And so I am moving Open Your Channel into the new year. And what this means for you is that you have more time. If you are interested in joining me and a group of people who are on the same path as you to work through a 4-module course of practices, of understanding, of context, of meditations, of supportive community to give you what you need to be able to take your work to the next level quickly, of coaching calls and also a group channeling call. So even if you can't come to the retreat, you get to channel with other people. And then the retreat is just amazing and epic. We practice 9 forms of channeling. Everybody gets to do everything. And it's so good. So I'm moving this to the next year. But what I'm doing right now is I'm taking deposits for people who want to be a part of this. And so I'm accepting $200 deposits. If you want to be on the list to be in the group next year, this would be super helpful for me because I'm, doing all of this transition stuff. And I would love to have an awareness of who wants to be a part of this program so that I can make my plans. And also, I really want to keep the program small. So I am looking to get the list, get the people in, and then from there, we'll kind of mastermind together a little bit around when are some really good days and times for the retreat and for everybody else. So right now, this was going to start at the end of October, and then we were going to do our retreat in December. So now we're going to look at a little bit more like February, March, and early spring and for our retreat. And so I think at that time, I'll have an amazing place and it'll all be figured out and it'll be super easy. So that's what we're going to do. If you are interested in talking more about this course specifically, about the retreat, then reach out to me, send me a private message, send me an email to catbird711@gmail.com or connect with me on Facebook. And let's get you in. We can jump on a call if you want to know more information. I will be sending out this recording in an email along with the link to the program. And if you would like to jump in and join us in the new year, then start out your year with this solid experience of being able to open, understand, and master your channel. And you can do this. It's totally possible. And all of the weird things that go on with doing this work and being this work, you don't have to suffer. And you can expand your work. You can get it out there. I'm also including a module on bringing this work into your client sessions, into stuff that you're doing online, into whatever it is that your business is now or your new business working with these energies. What else? So I'll be sending that out in an email. You'll be on my list and you'll get updates. But let me know if you want to be in this course. And if you are interested in any private work and healing sessions that I do online or maybe in person, I don't know. I'm so moving right now. So it might be possible in person a little bit. It will be possible in person. I am in San Diego right now for a little while longer. I'm going to be in Portland. I'm going to be in Mount Shasta. I am going to be near LA. I'm going to be, I think, in New Mexico. So there's a lot of places I'm going to be if you're interested in working with me. I also work online. I do a lot of mentorship work with practitioners who are looking to explore their shamanic healing, channeling gifts to the next level, bring that stuff to their work, bring that to their coaching business. bring it to their healing work, and to expand the energetic tools, the spiritual mastery that's required for stepping into who you truly are. And then also bringing your work to the world. I'm really good at that too. So how do we get ourselves out there and start talking about this stuff in a way that resonates with other people? So I'm gonna let you go. We're right on time. I'm so proud of me. I love it when we're right on time. It's so amazing, because I know that was a lot. It was a lot of information. It was a lot out there. If you've received benefit from this or any of my work at any time, I so appreciate a shout out on social media or a share with a friend. Again, this is my passion and my love, and I will be putting you on my list so that you can receive the recording, and then also some follow-ups on what to do next. And again, reach out if you need help or support or have a question. I will be talking to you soon, and many blessings.